I have decided to come back and give some updates on the Mica Miller case and to talk to y'all about it as much as I can. I'm not like an expert by any means on these things, but I do my best. My daughter went and watched my video from the other day and she said, Mom, you really need to remake your video or update your video or something a little bit better. So I'm going to try again and see if I can get it a little bit closer to the facts. So, first of all, this is the way it went down. J.P. Miller, who is a pastor, which nobody really wants to say anything about that because he's far from a pastor as far as we're concerned. Any of the true Christians and Bible believing people don't believe that he should have ever been a minister at all because he's got shady, shady junk in his past. And a lot of people feel he's very connected to the whole death of Mica Miller. Anyway, he was married to somebody named Allison way, way back when, before he met Mica. He was married to Allison, and I forget what her last name is. And Mica started at the church at about 14 years old with her family. And Mr. JP decided he liked Mica and was going to woo her closer to him. So eventually he made her kind of the caregiver for his children, and she was a worship leader, one of them, and just was very involved in the church. He made sure she was kind of at arm's length, not arm's length, at hand at all times. So as she got older, she apparently fell in love with this guy, Jeremy Dietz, and Mr. JP, quote unquote Pastor JP, married them. He married Mica and Jeremy together. So obviously she became Mica Dietz at that point. Jeremy was her first husband. Meanwhile, Allison, I believe Allison was married to, let's see, hold on, Chris Skinner at the time. Chris Skinner ended up in an accident, ended up in a wheelchair. I told y'all about that. Mysteriously fell into a pool and drowned from his wheelchair. The interesting thing was Mr. Skinner was very familiar with the pool that he drowned in and would probably never, ever get near the edge of it. So there's possible foul play, people think, and they are linking JP indirectly to this. Hey, Super Serial. Okay, so not only did JP marry Mica to Jeremy Dietz, he also did Chris Skinner's funeral. So this dude has his hand in every pot from the get-go. You need to know that. Anyway, when Mica turned, first of all, Mica and Jeremy got married in 2012. When Mica turned 18 years old, that's when she got married to Jeremy Dietz. Well, meanwhile, after Chris Skinner dies and JP does his funeral, soon after that, JP marries Allison, the guy that died, his wife. He marries her. Okay? So he's married to Allison. JP and Allison are married. Mica and Jeremy are married. Okay. That catches us up to a little bit more accuracy here. All right. Interestingly enough, Jeremy and Mica used to go to JP and Allison's house to plan the worship songs for the church and to talk about church dealings, etc. So Mica was at JP's house a lot, visiting him and his wife from the get-go, like for a while. In 2015, Mica and JP were caught together in a little rendezvous, if you will. Okay? On September 14th, 2016, Mica and JP decide to divorce their spouses. In 2017, JP and Mica decide to get married New Year's Eve. So you see the little thing going on behind the scenes. It started way back when. All right. Let's flash forward a little bit from that. So JP and Mica are married. All kinds of shady garbage going on. I told you about it the other day about the little tryst of intimacies that JP involved Mica in with the black gentleman and a bunch of other crazy garbage going on. Well, there's more about the stuff that JP did with Mica. Apparently, he gave Mica testosterone shots and lithium. And it was told that JP would like give her Miller is Jedis or what? Okay, I'm not talking about Miller, Gladys. I'm talking about JP Miller. Not. Or are you talking about JP Miller? John Paul Miller is who I'm talking about. Okay, anyway, back to what I'm doing because I'll get confused. So he was giving Mica testosterone pills and lithium. Now, Mica's family said there was nothing wrong with Mica until she met and married JP. There was no proof of her having any mental illness. JP told everybody that Mica had mental illness. He did the same things to Mica that he did to his former wife, Allison. He stalked Allison really bad. We're going to talk about that next. There was a lot of garbage going on behind the scenes with Mica and JP, as well as when he was married to Allison. Allison filed several police reports against JP after she had broken up with him. He was stalking her. In 2016, she filed a report saying that he was stalking her. He was coming to her job. He was coming to her home when she wasn't there. He was texting her, calling her constantly. And then he was shining a laser, a green laser, into, I believe, the garage attached to her house. He did the same type of stuff to Mica years later, or a year later, however long after I said. He tried at one point to take his child out for ice cream, but Allison would not allow it because he wasn't mentally fit. Police agreed that he wasn't fit to take the child off the premises. JP moved across the pond after he split up with, well, Allison divorced him. He moved across the pond into a house and would text her and call her and tell her that he saw her leaving or saw her coming home, that he noticed who she had over for company. Can you imagine somebody calling you up? I know who you have there. I know you have blah, blah, blah coming over for dinner. Because he's watching all this. He's spying on her and stalking her. He then told her, well, the only thing that's keeping me from really seeing you is that magnolia tree in front. So the next thing she knows, she's coming home from somewhere and notices this white powder around the magnolia tree. He was trying to kill her tree so he could watch her across the street and peer into her home. No, this guy ain't crazy and deserves to be a pastor. Not. She knew that that's what it was, that it was Epsom salt around her tree because he had killed other trees, I believe on the church property or his property, with this Epsom salt before. So he's trying to kill the tree so he could spy on his ex-wife. She took out an order of protection against him. Okay. So that's what went on with Allison so far. That was way before, well, not way before, but soon before Mica came into the picture. They had an interview with Mica's sister and her father, and they both said that she was basically feeling she was submitting to her husband, being a dutiful wife, abiding to his every whim, and believed she should submit to him, even to the point of abuse, as long as she was obeying God. And I know what she's talking about, because in certain Christian circles I used to be part of, they would say, obey your husband and submit as unto God, as unto the Lord. And you don't deviate from that at all. Anytime the husband wants intimacy, you are to give it to him in any way, shape, or form he wants it. And to not do so would be disobedient and rebellious. Um, Furthermore, this church owns a lot of land, a lot of property, and property that I believe, I don't know if the churches are built on, but they own other property they can build churches on. They also own a Cessna plane. Now, I know what a Cessna is. I flew a Cessna 88 back in high school. It's like a 2 to 4 passenger plane. I believe it's a 4 passenger plane. There's a front and back seat. At any given time, this quote unquote pastor can hop in that plane and be anywhere in the world if he wants to. Um, which right now he's not being prosecuted to my knowledge, so he can just escape if he wants to and go wherever he wants. Scary thought. So he owns multiple properties that are all in the church's name. His home that he lived in with Micah is now in the church's name. Uh, Charges were never brought against him, like I said, and he's still able to be a pastor if he wants to. So, guess what I think he's probably going to do? He closed down Solid Rock Church, which was the church where all this baloney was going on, among other things that I haven't quite heard about yet. And he's probably going to go open up another church somewhere. That's what's going to end up happening. I'm betting. If he doesn't get called in for questioning and investigated. Right now, they are trying to get the FBI involved since they feel that everything, the way it was handled, was not right. They rushed an autopsy. JP did, of course. Um, they did get to see their daughter at the wake, where they lay out the body. And they said she had multiple scratch wounds on her hands and bruising on her hands. And what they think may have been done is somebody took the gun in her hand, squeezed her hand, held her other hand back while she was struggling, held the gun to her head, and shot herself in the face, making it look like she did it to herself. Right now, we don't know for sure. I don't know if they'll ever know for sure because the body was cremated. I don't know if they'll ever find out the truth. And that's the sad thing is that this family is left with so many unanswered questions. That's why they want to involve the FBI. Right now, they're studying toxicology on her bloodstream, apparently, her blood results, to see if she had any, I guess, blood laden or drug laden blood or something before they cremated her. I don't know how that all works, but that's the point they're at now. I'm still listening in to find out if they have any more information about it. But this dude, like I said, had shady, shady stuff going on in the past. He actually ran over somebody, apparently a woman, in his car, and that wasn't dealt with. He had 37 driving violations. That wasn't dealt with. Stalking, um, involvement with other people in the church, inappropriate involvements, taking her pictures and posting them online, the lewd photographs and stuff. I mean, just a lot of stuff. And again, not held accountable, nothing to hold him accountable. And everybody that is trying to get justice for Micah wants to see this dealt with further and wants to see something happen where this guy is brought to task on his possible involvement. Even if it's to the point where he just intimidated her and bullied her so much that she did end her own life. Nobody knows. All right, anyway, that's all. That's the update. Hopefully that was a little clearer than my last video. I know I didn't have like the dates and I didn't have the proper people in there of who was who. The guy that died in the wheelchair was the first husband to the one JP ended up marrying, Allison. That was her husband that died in the wheelchair accident in the pool. Um, yeah, there's just too close for comfort of all these similarities in the situations with Allison and Micah. But anyway, I have not heard back from the person I was talking to that was friends with Micah. Hopefully she went and took cover. She apparently was in a hit and run accident yesterday and had to get her neck fixed. So I don't know what's going on with that. I haven't heard anything more, but I hope she is safe and is taking cover somehow, some way, and disguising herself so she doesn't get harmed. All right, that's all I know. Hopefully, we'll hear more as time goes on, and this JP guy will be held to task like he needs to be. Have a good night, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.